Hello, everyone. Welcome to Let's Talk FGO, your favorite FGO podcast, probably.
Hopefully.
I am one of your hosts. I will be your Virgil this day, Omega. With me, as always, is Malbolgia Lucky.
Everyone, I hope you're enjoying Fate Grand Order, aka it's actually Samurai Showdown. And while we here at Studio Maker like to bring you the latest in FGO-related news and memes, we will be talking about current and future events for both the JP and EM version of the game, so anyone not wanting spoilers should go watch for the bloodmoon. Shobu!
Yeah, so we're mixing up the intro a little bit today. We're doing some testing to see about stuff, so that's right. It's Let's Talk FGO. I will remind everybody that this episode is brought to you by our patrons like Aga Comics, Qua, Jeremy Vasquez, Kylie Denton, Nestor Flores, Sodasan0424, and VideoGamer75, and that if you like what we do, you should consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early and lots of other goodies, and it would really help us out, and we thank all our patrons for their support.
Thank you.
So yeah, that's our, we're trying out that intro style to see if that affects, like, analytics and stuff. Because,
the numbers.
Typically with YouTube videos, this is just all our videos, people, like, click away immediately, but I'm wondering if maybe we try a cold open hook first. You know, Lucky does the intro, that gives some people some interest in what we're talking about. Then it's like, hey, the episode's brought to you by, those are our sponsors. And theoretically, if any real companies wanted to sponsor us, we're legitimate on YouTube told me so. We could put in sponsor lists or ad reads there, because you have to declare paid for content. I wonder if the FCC rules apply to patrons? Probably not, because that's us. That's on us. We pick to shout out certain patrons.
Well, Patrons is technically donations.
Yeah, I guess. We're not sponsored by them. They're just donating to us, and I choose to shout out some of them and give credits to all of them at the end of the show.
Yeah.
Because I think it's cool if you support us that we make sure to mention to other people that you support us.
Something like that.
But, okay. Well, we're past our minute mark where we can swear, so let's check in with Mash.
Senpai, 起きてください.
That's right, everybody. It's time for Wake the Fuck Up Senpai, our regular time for pro tips, and you won't notice there was an awkward pause there, because I edit these. So, here's a couple of things, mostly relating to the FP gacha. First off, in case you don't roll on FP much, like I do, I have about 1 million friend points right now. Remember that auto burn is a feature now. You can automatically burn CEs, EXPs, and foes, not servants. I don't know if they ever add that, but not servants. And you can divide this up by rarity, so you could keep all 3-star CEs, for instance. This automatically adds the QP or MP you would get, useful if you're spamming for a specific servant or something. Speaking of spamming for a specific servant, Hozoin, 2 long O's, should not be in the FP gacha yet. It says will be added after the summon period ends, so I haven't burned through all my millions of FP trying to get him, but I did do some FP rolls to get the 3-star Heaven's Feel CE, which I did get. Not happy about the Shinji, but it does have a Medusa on it, so it's cool. It goes in my collection. But I don't know if he'll show up or anything yet, so if you're, going for a big swing, wait a little bit. Because he is permanent. Some people were like, is he story locked? No. Story locks come later and hurt us more. Because I'm not too hurt yet, but lots of people are saying Kato Danzo is great.
Yeah, no, she's good.
But, yeah, let's go ahead and, first of all, also, because I immediately did the read, I should mention the spoilers thing is, once again, double legit. It's not in our show notes, but we should probably talk about the Babylonia anime.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we don't have to, because we always do that at the end. So if you're not caught up on Babylonia because of whatever reasons, we will talk about that at the end of the show. That will be the literal last thing we talk about, except for outro faff. So if you need to stop the episode, you can stop it there and be reasonably sure nothing cool was mentioned. Or maybe you just take your earbuds out and let the episode play, because YouTube cares about watch time. Yeah, just saying. The second thing is also, hey, Shimousa's out. It's a story chapter. We're going to do first impressions like we always do. We're going to be here for 2 hours.
Get comfy.
So, if you're concerned about outright spoilers, or you're not super far yet, I know some people are putting it off a little bit to farm EXPs or stuff, and you're super concerned about spoilers, oh fuck, we're going to ruin this for you. So,
I will say though, we're going to try to avoid super big spoilers, but
yes, we're mostly just going to talk about characters and details. I don't think we want to ruin the shock value for some of these.
Yeah.
And I'm still, we'll talk about it more later, but I'm still debating whether or not I want to use code names for these, so you didn't get that 5-star. I think we will skip it, because just because you know which character is which in the gacha doesn't mean you know who they are in story until you meet them, so I think it's okay to say their names because you might be rolling them early.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, that's a perfect fork because we're going to go into Records from the Throne, our regular achievement topic. So despite the fact that your bullet point is second, Lucky, you should probably go first because I have a two-parter.
Oh, okay. Well, as I said, Lucky felt the time hath come. So with 10 tickets and 60 quartz, I pulled a Musashi, Tomoe, Gozen, MP2 Chiyome, and Hozuin.
There's a lot of MP2 Chiyome going around.
She's pretty... She's okay.
Well, she seems like she's getting rolled a lot.
Yeah. I said, like, originally I was saying I wasn't going to really bother about Banner 1, but...
You just felt it was time to roll.
I just felt it was time to roll, and it worked out. And, I went for a second one, and I got... Because my first roll, I got Musashi, Chiyome, and Hozuin, and then I spent all 10 of my tickets. I got nothing. And I was all like, are the stars aligned? And I'm like, yes, they are. I rolled, and I was able to get Tomoe Gozen. So I was all like, all right, no, this is good. Stop. Because originally, I just wanted Kanto Danzo, who is actually the story lock.
Mm-hmm. So the best time to roll is on Banner 2.
Yeah, so I was like, getting all that on 60 quartz, even if, like, the 10 tickets were a bust, I'm just like, no, my luck is good. I still have to, like,
hold up.
I still have to, like, throw down on a Halloween banner because of, trick or treatment. And I still need to try to roll for Kanto Danzo. So I'm like, no, hold!
Yeah, pump some brakes.
Yep.
But you got what you wanted.
I did.
Lucky you have a second bullet point in your bullet point.
I do. I'm sorry. I forgot. I'm on the new, when I switch computers, I haven't actually fiddled my Discord completely like my old one, so I hear the sounds of people exiting and entering.
Oh, okay.
And it completely, like, derailed me for a second.
Fair.
So the second part is with my new Musashi. I was all like, it is time to go to the Ember Mines, and I got her and Cleo, Smiles Protected. They're both level 90. Yeah, I'll talk actually a little bit more about my feelings on Musashi. Actually, once we actually get in there, into
because there's a lot of Musashi in this chapter, obviously.
Yeah.
But so for me, I had some tickets. I had stockpiled tickets. I was ready to go. Because I'm not spending any quartz until Rushiko. That's my move. So I was aiming for Tomoe or Musashi. I got MP2 Chiyome instead on tickets and another copy of Victor of the Moon, so that was like 8 tickets. That's not bad, so I'm just like, okay. I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm not upset. I didn't get what I wanted, but I can't be mad. Also, in positives, this was before this, but I got the Mages Association uniform to 10. That's a big deal. Those Mystic Codes take a long fucking time to level up.
Yeah, they do.
So, yeah, I got my Mages Association maxed out. And then we move swiftly into Not All the World's Evil, but damn close. But also, Fion showed up. You can see my tweet on this, or I'm like, I got my first Chiyome, I'm like, officer. And then I'm like, and then this motherfucker shows up. That was in between my two Chiyomes, but just fucking gold sparks. I'm like, ooh, I'm excited. It's like, Lancer? Who the fuck? And then it's like, oh, it's this fucking guy. And I'm like, god damn it, Fion.
Lucky is currently working on the thumbnail, and he is trying to get maximum monk abs into here.
Yeah. That's a worthwhile one. But yeah, so I have a Fion now. That was a new one. Now I don't have an extra rare prism yet, cause he has, like, he's an SR, so he has fucking quartz in his bonds, and he has rank ups, which can give you quartz and stuff later in interludes, so I'm like, I won't discard him right away. I have 2 rare prisms as it is, on account of my many fucking Suthenos. So, I figure it's not worth it to burn an NP1 4-star just to get extra rare prisms I'm not using. But I'm definitely following the Lucky school of thought in that he's going in the corner. The shame corner, because that was my fucking Tomoe. That was my other non-Chiyome SR, so he gets to sit in the corner and think about what he's done. But alright. I think that's everything related to that.
Actually, let me check something. Well, no, like, speaking of Not All the World's Evil, I don't want to, like, one of our patrons, actually did a cool, and they got 2 Musashis, and my immediate thought was, someone stole Omega's Musashi again.
Well, I don't know. I didn't blow 300 plus quartz on this Musashi run, so I don't know if I want to call anybody stealing, but that is funny. Another double Musashi.
Yeah.
In case you guys don't know that, that's a joke we adopted after New Year's, where yes, I spent real money and quite a lot of stockpiled quartz on Musashi and didn't get really anything. So yeah. We joked because one of our community members did get double Musashi in one roll. It was like, oh, clearly they've stolen my Musashi.
Clearly.
But on 8 tickets, I'm like, I'm not expecting the SSR. I'd like it, but I'm not, expecting it. Like I said, honestly, 3 SRs in 8 tickets is pretty good. I'm just a little bothered that one of them was a non-rate up. And it was, of course, Fion, the spookiest motherfucker next to Setheno. At least my assassins were rate up assassins. I was a little concerned when the first gold assassin card showed up. I'm like, and it's like, oh, okay, thank God. At least it's on rate up. Whew. And we will talk about Chiome as a unit later. So
yeah, like I was gonna say real quick, 3 SRs and 8 tickets is actually well ahead of the fucking statistical
It's
curve.
not quite 2 Tesla 6 tickets, but this was another pretty good run of luck, and I'm just like, I'm not even mad. I'm impressed. I'll pick up Tomoe later. It's like with Fran. It took me, I think, like a year and a half to get Fran. Now I have an NP2 Fran.
I say, we here at Studio Omega, we like to play, Omega likes to play a long game.
With permanents anyway, I'm like, The Musashi stings, but when I gave it my all on courts anyway, it's like, what can you do? Shit happens.
I can't really say that Lucky plays a long game, because Lucky plays whatever game pops into his head at the moment.
Lucky plays the how much money is in my bank game. But, let's move into Skeletograms real quick. So, NA, I'll read these because we're going to go back and forth a lot in the first impressions.
Righto.
And they're short. So, hey, it's the Shimousa release campaign. It's running from 10/10 to 10/28. I'm pretty sure that's not when Halloween's going to start, but it could be. I wouldn't mind if Halloween, at least the banners, dovetailed into the next month. Oh, but then that'll frickin' month. I gotta figure out my monthly tickets. Oh well. I may or may not have to do some more fucking Galaxy Brain math. But anyway, it's running for a while. First off, there's a gameplay change. Burn now stacks. It didn't before, but now multiple sources of burn will stack. Do all the damage together. They added the Magatama material. We talked about this last time. You can only get it from Black Samurai guys. There's a new 3-star CE, Divine Construct. All the other stuff we mentioned in pregame about banners and blah blah blahs. Also, this was a little bit late, but they did announce a social media campaign for up to 10 Saint Quartz for combined Facebook and, Twitch likes. So let me see, that's pinned right now. So on Twitter alone, we're at almost 20k. So that means we've probably bypassed our first milestone, which is 30,000, because that's just the Twitter, not the Facebooks.
Oh, side note, actually, with all this, with the Shimousa release campaign, they actually sent us a video from Nobunaga Shimazaki, too. Mm-hmm. Basically, just a few interesting questions and him talking about it and being a wholesome, cool dude as usual.
Yeah, he's great. Nobu's great.
Yeah. Everyone sent him Napa Valley wine, because apparently he really likes it.
Yeah. Also, protagonist. He's us now, because Babylonia is here. We'll talk about that more later. And that's really everything from the Shimousa. So in JP, the time finally came. Oniland Rerun has begun. It is going from 10:11 to 10:24. So, the usual truncated rerun stuff. You got the usual reruns shenanigans. They've expanded the list of bonus servants. They have now added Benny Enma, Paris, Gareth, Rhinez, Da Vinci Rider, Miyu, Kama, and King Protea. I thought it was a height limit, but KP kind of goofs that, so I think it's just small children. Make your jokes about regular Da Vinci, who was already a bonus servant, and Gareth now. But also, these kids get an increase on FP and bond points, up to like 50% plus for some of them. And Mash actually does an interesting thing. She is a bonus servant too, because she is a small girl and wants to go to amusement parks. But she actually gives everybody else like plus 5% bond. So that's a pretty cool, mechanic. Speaking of cool mechanics, Onikir, aka Caster Shuten, will get free 50% NP gauge on main quests and is still double EXP. So that's a fun mechanic going on there. There's a challenge quest now. I don't know the details, but it happens. I think it's Caster Shuten and Sitanai. The command codes have been reprinted, so that is cool. There's a lot of concern from people about whether or not you can double up on command codes. Well, now, yes, there are 2 copies because they're in the rerun. And then, let's see. The summon banner has been announced, obviously. So the banner is Sitanai, of course, which is good because she's story locked. Shuten Doji returns.
Yeah.
And also there's an Ibaraki and Summer Ibaraki raid up.
Okay, Mega. So I need to cut you off for a second because I need you to go back to Not All the World's Evil. So I don't know if you guys realize or not, but my computer crashed and came back like just now. And usually it doesn't take a moment, but I was working on the thumbnail. No. Here's the thing. I had just finished it. I was actually typing in the saved name when my computer crashed.
No. Oh, wow.
That I'm like, did that just fucking happen? Because I usually don't mind the crashes. I really don't, because as I said, it usually only takes me a few minutes to get back. And
yeah, I sensed that you had crashed and just kept going reading the news, and nobody would have noticed.
Yeah, no one would have noticed. But the fact that I was like I was about to just hit enter and save in the crash, I'm just like, no, I have to share this. I am absolutely fucking shook.
Ow.
Now, all right, I'm sorry, but so I gotta start on the thumbnail all over again.
Yeah.
Oh,
so in that case, I'll since you were out, did you catch that the bonus servants in Oniland get extra bond points?
Oh, that's good. Well,
yeah, it's a really interesting mechanic. I don't think they've shown before.
Also, I know that they've expanded the list to include more smalls,
and also one very large.
She is a large small. Okay,
of course, biggie smalls. But yeah, it's a very fun list. But yeah, so that's lots of interesting mechanics and stuff going on. But all right, well, let's see, what's our time? Under 20 minutes. That's good. We can power through all that.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's time for Shimousa first impressions.
Yeah, we wrote a lot here.
So we're both still pretty early. Because there's a time-limited thing going on in Azure Lane, I'm trying to make sure I'm set up to do that pretty regularly. So I'm not super far in Shimousa. It's also only been out a day. So like we said, we're going to try and be not super deep divey, but definitely very first impression-y.
Yeah.
But I've only gotten so far as to get a little bit past the first boss.
Lucky is in the battles leading up to the third boss.
And I believe, as usual, some lunatics are done or almost done already, but...
Oh, I definitely know that someone is done.
Well, somebody's always done, but I mean, we have anecdotal evidence of people who are done or close to done.
Yeah. Yep, I gotta do it all over again.
You wrote most of these. Do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. So, this actually starts off, I want to say, peaceful enough. I can't even call it a singularity. It starts off with Mass being like, hey, do you remember Musashi you met? I was finding some information and stuff. And you talk a little bit back and forth. Well, actually, no, excuse me. Before even that, we get a first-person perspective of the, I guess I would say, not final moments, but final days of Miyamoto Musashi. As he talks about his life and his experiences and how death is coming for him, and speaks the curse statement, if only this was a living hell, which
he's basically he's I don't know if it comes out right away, but it comes out a little bit later. He's waiting for a match right now.
Yep.
He's waiting for an opponent to arrive so he can have a good fight with him, because he's old and dying and he doesn't want to die that way, so he wants to finish it, have a match. So he's like it doesn't matter who it is, God, Buddha, devil,
even
Oni.
Yep.
Just give me a little bit more time, and if I have to die and go to hell, then let this life be hell.
Yeah.
So I don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah. So and then we go back to Chaldea. And
well, yeah, 'cause that's another thing I want to insert really quick. It's Mash is such a nerd. She's like, a mystery. I'm gonna solve it. I'm like, okay.
Well, honestly, seeing episode 0, this actually is put into perspective. All Mash really had when she was basically sealed in that room was a bunch of books that Romani would bring her. I don't even know if she had full I don't think she had internet access or anything.
Probably not. Chaldea is in the Antarctic.
She is in the Antarctic. So that's where she read a bunch of historical literature, for example, Holmes. I'm pretty sure that was one of she got Hans Christian Andersen's stories, homes. I can't remember any of the other specific ones. I do remember for the fact that she had those two, but she's
the
definitely
complete works of Shakespeare is probably in there somewhere. At least some of the more famous ones.
Yeah, but like, so Mash is definitely an avid reader, and I think it shows in her personality, especially when she has something new to look into or something new to potentially read. Because Musashi's Book of the
Five Rings.
Books of the Five Rings
It's
is it's a thing.
They have to call it. Mash is like, I didn't understand it at all, so I've called a fucking expert. She didn't actually, but Kojiro just shows up and he's like, "Hello, yes, I am a sword man."
It's like, if you are not a sword man, it is hard to understand this book. Let me sword man for you.
They do, if you haven't played Fate Stay Night, which lots of people haven't, or watched any of the animes, this also does a really good job of recapping Kojiro's idea.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't a real person, but rather he is the closest person who matches the myth of Sasaki Kojiro.
Oh, yeah. And so he just says that he is someone that, holds the name and the legend.
So he instinctively understands stuff about Musashi, even if he doesn't want to, because that's his servant thing.
Yeah. But you guys are chatting, your things are happening, and then all of a sudden, your brain has a fucking fit, as you start having weird visions, flashbacks. It does the lovely as your brain is suddenly getting another signal. You did not have a choice to accept this collect call. So you pass out, you hear voices. Apparently, this is the thing I found super funny, is that apparently Shooten just wanders over and it's like, if you don't wake up, I'm gonna nibble you from the head down. I'm like,
well, yeah, no. I think Mash pulls you out into the corridor.
Yeah.
And then Shooten just is walking by. She does say she senses a little bit of magical energy. She's like, nah, it's nothing.
It's nothing. Then we get a lovely scene of Holmes giving playing the mind tricks on Dantes, I would say, because the first examination of the master says that he's in a deep coma, very similar to a previous event. That event being the prison tower event, where he was trapped in a coma for a week as you hung out with your edge boy Dantes.
Holmes, you're an asshole, but you're our asshole.
He is an asshole,
but he gets results. He's just like, he does his fucking armchair psychoanalyst thing, and he's just like, oh yes, of course, Mr. Dantes, you didn't have anything to do with it, but boy, it sure is similar, isn't it? And Dantes is just like,
I will burn you,
and then walks off, and Holmes is like, mission success. Perfect.
Oh, I opened up the wrong one. Let's see here. Oh, there it is. So, from there, you here's the interesting thing. At this point is where they play the title card, and it pulls a CCC on you. It starts off saying Pseudo Singularity 3, Humanity Foundation Value, question mark, but it and goes to Pseudo Parallel Worlds, Humanity Foundation Value Undetermined.
Yeah, so in case you didn't pick up on that, and from Musashi talking about it later, you are in possibly a parallel timeline. You are not in the past. You are not in a singularity. You have slipped off in your dreams to some other universe, some other timeline.
Yeah.
Similar to what was happening in MHXA's Trial Quest, where you accidentally mind teleport to the Servant universe as the robot. Only this is much more serious.
Yeah, this is much more serious.
Because you fall out of the sky on Musashi, of all people.
And you commit the most heinous of crimes. You make her drive a rice ball. It is now dirty. She cannot eat. She continues to starve.
Yeah, because she hadn't eaten in 2 days.
But Musashi, who adores you, is all like, no, it's good.
Yeah, you're cute, so Musashi loves you.
Mm-hmm.
Musashi is the best.
Now that I've actually had her for a bit, again, usually trial quests, I'm not really, I'll admit, I didn't actually do Musashi's trial quest, because I was, back at the New Year's, I was kind of I have other servants to worry about. I don't need to play this trial quest and all of a sudden want Musashi.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I don't even know if her trial quest did a really good job, because it shows off her character. You establish some things, you kind of establish this rapport that you obviously have already in Shimousa.
Yeah.
But also, it's pretty long and involves a lot of commentary about Musashi's historical deeds. Like, one boss you fight is because you show up on Onigaishima. One boss you fight is an Oni who reveals that he's actually the unquiet ghost of a guy who saw Musashi walking down the road and didn't challenge her or something. And so he, regretted that he didn't get a chance to fight, Shidam and Musashi no Kami. Musashi has a lot of fucking aliases, by the way.
Yeah, the most common one I always hear is Miyamoto, though.
Yeah. I believe that is the appropriate family name, is Miyamoto Musashi. And the rest are titles.
Yeah.
But then that's a boss fight and stuff. And so, it is very weird and dreamlike, her trial quest, like a lot of trial quests are. So it kind of helps, but doesn't help. And like I said, I personally zoned out a lot, even though I like Musashi. It's just like, man, there's a lot of dialogue about how Musashi stabs lots of guys. That's cool.
But there's something that I do want to say that I do appreciate it, is that it lets you establish a familiar rapport immediately. You don't have to meet Musashi all over again. It's like, no, hey, I know you. Let's go hang out and do stuff.
Also, so here's another thing. Musashi references a lot of future shit. Because she's a fucking time-space traveler. Like, she implies that even though this is as the player, second meeting with her, she implies she's met us a couple times, which she has. Future spoilers for JP, Musashi's gonna show up again a couple of times. But she implies that she has seen you in other places and been other places when you meet her. So it's like, it's a whole thing where this is like, oh, she's even more familiar with you than you are with her, because she keeps bumping into you, because you're also technically a fellow time traveler. I don't know if we missed the chance where in Japanese they explicitly called her a slider, but that was the metaphor that was used in Japanese originally, so I don't know. But if you're familiar with that TV show, yes. With the capital S. But yeah, okay. So you're right. You get to build that rapport, instantly. She's like, my good friend. Insert name here. So good to see you again. I'm starving, but I'd be happy to travel with you.
Yep. And so you start traveling. It's awesome. As I said, I did want to say, I don't know, what it is, but I think the story starts out kind of slow, because, well, actually, no, I take that back. It doesn't start off slow, because immediately it throws you into, it is cloudy, now fight demons.
Yeah, there's some weird shit going on with the weather.
There's some weird shit going on with the weather. You find some kids, you protect them, and they take you back to their,
Well, they say that they're gonna lead you to their village and their grandpa's hermitage. This takes you a while. Yeah.
Because first off, you run into honestly a pretty wholesome monk bro.
Well, yeah. So for the game immediately throws into action in the only way FGO can, where it's just like, there's fucking ghosts and demons and shit rolling around, and you're like, you have to punch a lot. You have to punch a lot of ghost demons.
And here's the thing: they immediately start doing the thing because you're not actually connected to Chaldea this time, so you can't actually summon servants to help you. So
yeah, the first couple fights are solo story support only, and story support is locked to Musashi or Hozoin, who you mentioned, who shows up for the second one.
Yeah, so immediately they start you off with this mechanic. Now here comes one of my little myths right here. The bonus bond for Shimousa is knights, and yet they keep throwing assassin mobs all day, every day at me. I'm all like, hang on a damn second here. Like, the boars, ghosts, some of the hecking demon guardsmen. I think they throw in some lancers here and there.
There's even a couple of lancer mobs.
Yeah, but it's been mostly like assassins are like, why do you do this? My casters are getting a lot of mileage, but they're not getting as much mileage as my fucking Keel Lancer hanging out in the background just in case.
Hey, listen, I'm just cruising around, blowing up Shimousa province with shooting stars and Venuses. Because hey, even with enough class advantage, a Stella will clear those ghosts right up.
So Omega's strategy is just oversaturation of artillery.
Yeah, I'm just cruising, or just flying around Shimousa province, being like, oh, there's ghosts in this forest? Now there's no more fucking forest. Just, hey, Ishtar, you see all these fucking mountains? I don't like them, get rid of them. Because in case you forgot, her NP is anti-mountain, which was something I did think of. She uses her NP at least once in the story, so we're going to get to see that in Babylonia.
Get excited.
That's going to be cool. Seeing for realsies NP animations are going to be really cool. But anyway, we're not talking about Babylonia yet.
Yeah. So, words. Alright, so...
Well, you were talking about the bond levels.
Yeah, so... It's like, because here's the thing, story chapters, when you first give them, give oodles of fucking bond points. Like, even without the bonus, my servants are getting, like, almost 2,000 bond points.
Yeah, I think it's definitely over 1,500 for some. And as you get later,
you know,
it gets slightly higher. Yeah,
and that's impressive, especially, like, you know, like in non-events, like running the highest level, Embers Farm, you only get, like 5 to 600, I can't remember numbers perfectly.
Yeah, I don't know. I always have lunchtime in, so I'm like plus 15%, so I don't know the exact numbers, but yeah, it's good, but not great.
Yeah, like I said, there's no, like, actual, like, bond farming method aside just, you know, rerunning dailies constantly with, you know, appropriate CDs.
Yeah, it's dailies or do certain free quests over and over again.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is one of those opportunities where you try and want to maximize your bond points, and it's just like, I'm like, and so, like, my bond points say one thing, but these class setups say another thing. How do I do?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Obviously there's a lot of swordsman, you know, knights kind of martial arts focus in this chapter. A lot. Yeah. It's literally called Showdown. Was it 7 Swordsman Showdown or something like that? Mm-hmm. But also it's a fucking Holy Grail war. There's one of everybody.
Oh yeah.
That's explicitly called out like 2 chapters in, where the mysterious off-screen sorcerer has summoned 5 servants, and then Caster of Limbo was already there, and then he's like, okay, we need to do the thing. So it's like, okay, I see where you're coming from, and yes, you do need 7 to make a Holy Grail war, but excuse the fuck out of me with these other 3. I'm like, what do you want me to do here? I can't even... Extra doesn't count as knights. I can't even, like, Jolter beams these guys.
Yeah. So, I guess we can talk about this 7 heroic, what was it, Swordmasters? Swordsmen?
Yes.
Whatever.
Who are weird. They do...
Yeah, they're weird.
So, the sorcerer, is just what they call him in the early story. No spoilers.
Yeah.
He's using Jesuit sorcery, and we'll talk a little bit more about some of the historical themes going on in Shimousa in a second, but he explicitly says, I think it's Caster of Limbo helps him, he has altered the summoning ritual, so he's doing the Holy Grail War style 7 spirit summoning, but it has been altered, and I don't think it's been revealed, but it's presumed because you're here, and you're doing stuff, that there's a Holy Grail in this area.
Yeah.
That is usually how it works, and I'm pretty sure we spoiled in pregame that you get a Holy Grail at the end of this, because, hey, it's a FGO story. More palingenesis. But, so I think Caster of Limbo is the one who adds his... What does he call it? The Curse of Annihilation, that's right.
Oh, Curse of Annihilation, yeah.
Yeah, he adds the Curse of Annihilation to all of them, which turns them into, like, super demon servants. As we find out later, they're very robust and hard to kill.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's a whole thingu. But so he has summoned 6 out of 7, but he needs all 7 to unveil his plan to exterminate all human life for reasons. Yeah. So you meet Hozoin, you fight some demons. Then the spooks happen. When he actually summons this, it becomes the dead of night. Only the moon and the sky turn red. Which is why, like, he talked about the bloodmoon before. It was, just like Terraria, which Lucky is currently streaming lots of on Discord, if you want to check that out.
Yep.
Blatant cross-promotion. Get in our Discord. But, then you get to meet all of them. Because they ambush you in a bamboo forest. Because of course they do.
That's when, ambushes happen.
So that's actually really interesting. They don't reveal who they are. The only one who comes out of the shadows uses the cloaked sprite. So we know he's Imperio Saber, but we don't know who he is because we see his face at all.
Yeah.
But he's going to be a bitch of a boss fight later.
Mm-hmm.
But we do see several silhouettes. This, by the way, is why, because some people talked about this actually. So I used all the characters' code names as servants because they are, Archer of Inferno is mentioned, Assassin of Paradise, Imperio Saber, or Emperial Saber. It's Italian. We may talk about the theology of this later.
Mhm.
But, I did not mention who they were because some of them are recurring characters because, in case you can't tell by their fucking blacked out sprites. But you should be able to. It's not hard. But I didn't want to mention their character names because their classes are different and that could get confusing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So if I for instance, mentioned, that Raiko is in it, you'd be like, oh, Berserkers. No, Raiko is Rider. She is... Which one was it?
Writer of... It was the Black Thread Hell. The Cutting Thread Hell.
They're all like Hindu terms. Well, you might talk about some of the Buddhist hells in a second.
Yeah.
Because two of them... So this was really interesting. It's a little bit scattershot, but the names are... Some of the names are drawn from Dante's Divine Comedy. Because there's Paradise, Purgatory, and Inferno, Hell.
Mm-hmm.
There's Caster of Limbo, which is one of the circles of Hell. I mentioned in our Discord. It's the suburb of Hell, basically. It's where all the cool pagans who couldn't be baptized and children who die before they are baptized go, because they're not technically saved, but they're not bad, so they just get to chill in the suburbs. It's cool. And then the Emperial is the final circle of final sphere of heaven. That's the divine fire. It's supposed to be God itself, so it's the center of the universe, the highest point, as it were. So
yeah,
that's pretty big britches to say that you're the Emperial Saber. But then you get some weird stuff because that was the 5, because the 3 books and then the 2 parts. So there are 2 Buddhist narakas, which is another word for hell or purgatory, in there, which are not quite like the Christian idea of hell.
No.
You specifically only spend certain periods in an incarnation in a naraka, and then you get out. But also, they all suck.
They all suck, and you spend there for like thousands.
Scientific notation is needed for how many years you spend in there. Okay, it's a long fucking time. It's not forever, but it's long.
Yeah.
So we don't remember which ones they are over the top of our heads, but I think.
Well, I know the name Hell. It's the Black Thread Hell, where you are literally.
Yeah, black lines are drawn all over your body, and demons cut you with axes and saws.
Yeah. The other one is the Crushing Hell, where you are literally just smashed with fucking rocks.
That was Samagata, but yeah, you're smashed by rocks to a bloody paste, and then the rocks are removed and you reform. And that's Berserker, which is Shuten.
Yeah. Now, interesting enough, the Black Thread Hell, because here's the thing, in Buddhist Narakas, you go to specific hells for specific things. And I couldn't find which one specifically the Crushing Hell was, but the Black Thread Hell, you go there for disrespecting priests, scholars, ancestors, and your parents. Okay. So considering, I'm just gonna fucking out it. Considering it's fucking motherfucking Mama Raiko, I found out there was a little bit of a parallel there. So I don't know, maybe that's why, maybe not. Here's the thing, I'm on my third Ultimate Duel, and they really don't seem to be explaining why they have these names. They just have cool names. They just have cool names. So I'm just like, is there a theme here? Is there a reason? Or
there's definitely some sort of theological theme there, but we will see if it gets explained as a unifying theme.
Well, unifying theme might be that, here's another point I was going to talk about. Historically speaking, this place takes place a couple years after the Shimousa Rebellion, which was 1638. If you guys know your fate, you'll know that there's actually a pretty important Fate character who was associated with it.
Actually, we're trying to remember how many years it was after. I just realized that. This stuff is usually dated, so I can check what AD Shimousa is supposed to be, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
I will double check, because we were trying to remember how many, because they said explicitly how many years after it was.
Yeah, and this is a point they keep hooking back to, that this is after the Shimousa Rebellion, and that we're in the relative peaceful
so it was
era
1628, right?
No, 38.
That can't be right.
Well, let me double check.
Shimousa province of AD 1630.
Weird. Let me double check. I could be wrong.
Yeah, double check, but also, it is also safe to say, Musashi explicitly calls this out, that this timeline is not like her history or our history.
Let me see here.
It's a parallel timeline where stuff is different. Because I'm not physically at it, but now you're at the point where you're going to the castle, which is apparently has a vibrant town under it, whereas Musashi and you are both, well, you're like, I don't fucking know, but Musashi is like, that castle should be destroyed by now, there's nothing there. That's weird.
Yeah, no, like, double checked, 1637 to 1638.
Yeah, we're in a weird alternate timeline.
We're in an alternate timeline. But the interesting thing about the Shimousa Rebellion is, at least actual historical side, this was the point that Christianity just got right out banned, because when Nobunaga came forth, he was actually kind of relaxed. He was all like, Christianity, sure, yeah, whatever, do what you want. Bring me more cool foreign shit.
Open markets and guilds, baby.
Yeah. But during the time of the Tokugawa, he started cracking down on it. Not like oppressively cracking down on it, but he was
that was later.
That was later. This is actually
now that we're talking about this makes me realize this is probably why Nero gets a free pass in Fate. Because the Japanese are like, let's not throw stones about oppressing Christians.
Yeah. Because it really wasn't until, actually, it's, his name's right here. It wasn't until Matsukura Katsue started, like, superimposing heavy fucking ass taxes and violently oppressing Christians that this shit happened, because people basically rose up against the shogunate because of this fucker, and the Tokugawa was just all like, no, stop that.
Whoa, I'm sorry, you're not allowed to do that. That's not how this works.
Yeah. And it was at this point, like, after this, as I said, Christianity just got, like, straight up banned, and they kicked out the Portuguese traders for actually helping the rebellion.
Because the Portuguese were good Catholics.
Yeah. The Dutch got to stay because they helped quell the fucking rebellion.
Which I commented makes sense, because I'm pretty sure at this point the Dutch would be in the north half, and thus would be presumably Protestant, or at least more mercantilely minded than the Portuguese. So
yeah,
that's a thing that's important to remember. Europe has been fighting with itself since like forever. So I know lots of people talk about the quote unquote Europeans, but the Europeans fight each other as much as they fight or oppress other people. Sometimes it's really funny to think about.
And also, don't worry, Matsukura Katsue did not get away with this. Basically, he was summoned to the capital, and it's all like, why the fuck was this happening? And then they found a dead peasant in his house, and it's all like, whoa, sir, how very dare! And they actually beheaded him and did not let him commit seppuku.
Like, well, so you're an abject failure, and I'm going to tell you to die now.
Well, yeah. Well, here's the thing: since they did not let him commit seppuku, which is the honorable death, they gave him a dishonorable death, which kind of speaks to how severe.
Yeah, they executed him as a criminal, which is like, ooh, that's not good.
Yeah. But the damage was still done, and what was it? Tokugawa Ieyasu? I can't remember which Tokugawa we're at right now.
There's a lot of fucking Tokugawas. And get ready for even more, because not next year, but 2 years from now, because it was earlier this year, we're gonna get a whole Tokugawa-themed event in FGO.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the Tokugawa shogunate lasted for like over 200 years.
Yeah.
And it was like one of the most peaceful times in Japan, because...
which Musashi keeps saying. She keeps talking about how this should be a time of peace.
Yeah. Because if you guys don't remember, like, Japan, like, has been fighting with itself for, like, almost fucking forever. Mm-hmm. With the Genji War, the Warring States era, like, several secession battles.
One of the... Oh, fuck. I'm trying to remember her timeline. But doesn't Archer of Inferno mention... Is it the Genji?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Because I'm at the point where I've seen her internal monologue, so she's very mad at them for something. It's probably pretty important.
It's important to her character, so I won't...
No, like I said, no shocking reveals.
Yeah. But, as I said, so... There's a lot of history in this event, even if things are a little warped.
Well, yeah, I think that's the point of this, is it's like, it's clearly grounded in real history, but also just some weird stuff happens, which is like, oh, well, that's not right.
Yeah.
That's not right at all.
Again, this is
I don't know if it's you as a player character or you as a English character, but while you, obviously, the main character is supposed to be Japanese no matter what region you're playing. That's canonical, I believe. Mm-hmm. MASH has made reference to that before. But, obviously, you're still a kid who you were some kind of mage, so, like, I'm pretty sure you didn't pay attention in high school, and you did not get to go to a good university. Rip.
Rip.
You weren't going to cram school. like a good Japanese child. So
remember, you just applied for a part-time job and ended up in Antarctica.
Yeah. Though we like to joke that it was secretly it was all Merlin's fault, and it was secretly a Majimari fan raffle. You just saw an ad online, and you're like, "Ooh, free merch," and then you're like, "The fuck? Why am I in Antarctica?" But there are several dialogue options where you can kind of have a grasp of Japanese history, but other times you're like, "I don't fucking know." Like with the castle, Musashi is like, "There should be a castle here in this time, right?" And you're like, "Eh." Though I do think you know which prefecture this is supposed to be in, which like only a native Japanese person would know.
I don't know. I think it was the Chiba prefecture. I don't know.
I think so. Yeah, and everybody is like Chiba prefecture, and you're like, don't pay me any mind.
I am just a foreigner in a strange kimono.
It's like when Tanya fucks up and mentions things that she shouldn't in the timeline. Everybody's just like, "What did you say?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it. I'm dressed in a strange kimono," which I assume they mean is supposed to be the default uniform. Also, I'm sad we don't get actual kimonos until New Year's. Not even this year, next year.
Yeah, no, I kind of find it weird that we don't have like a Japanese dress.
We have a lot of fucking school uniforms, but it's not until the Benny Enma event we get an actual like New Year's yukata type design.
Isn't a male protagonist like in a full hakama?
I believe so. Yeah, you get the traditional formal New Year's wear.
Yeah,
for either gender.
I'd wear that.
Now that said, there's no way they'd mistake it for a kimono if I was chilling in my fucking summer outfit. But they might try to stab us for that. That's showing a lot of skin. But anyway,
yeah. Luckily they don't. Excuse me. They do actually seem to be sticking to a lot of historical norms. You know, like, you give respect to you don't actually supposed to hang out near nobility and stuff. They'll fucking cut you if you do.
But also, I've got my girl samurai posse Musashi. She's ready to cut a bitch.
Mm-hmm. You just be careful that she doesn't rattle her sword at too many fucking people.
Yeah, that's a little hard, because you get a lot of Musashi in this chapter, obviously. She is at least for the first section, she is the only basically support character other than Hozoin, who quickly exits the scenario for a little bit. He pops in and then he pops out. But other than the small Japanese peasant child and her infant brother who can only say "goo gaga," which is great. I love that. I love that they just translated I'm sure it was the Japanese onomatopoeia for baby noises, but it's great.
Baby noises.
But Musashi is the only major character you talk to for extended periods, and she is chatty and energetic. But also she talks about how it just likes to fucking fight people. She is a wandering swordsman. She is a martial artist, perfecting her art, trying to reach the void. So, she is all about just fighting fools for no reason. Which is also very historically accurate to Miyamoto Musashi. A lot of his duels were not formalized duels that were reported in stuff like the Book of the Fire Rings and whatnot. The famous duel with Sasaki Kojiro, which I think MASH recounted in the start somewhere, but basically, Sasaki Kojiro was supposed to be Musashi's great rival, and they'd finally arranged to settle it on an island. Musashi shows up late to the duel to piss Kojiro off, and then Kojiro's like, "You didn't even bring your swords, what are you doing?" And Musashi's like, "I will defeat you with this oar," and killed Kojiro with a boat oar. That's how Musashi fights, okay?
I'm still sad that Summer Musashi doesn't have a fucking oar. No,
though they do reference it, with Musashi's... Musashi has battle continuation EX, because she just fucking runs away and cheats.
Yeah, she does.
That Musashi's philosophy about running away to fight another day comes up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I believe that her NP in Summer is supposed to be her, secret double technique to cheat and dishonor other swordsmen and get, style on them, because that's her style. It's just fuck your shit up.
They actually call this, for as cowardly and underhanded her tactics were, she was undeniably skilled and stylish, which is why she is super well known. Because even if you cheat with flair, yeah, that's the thing. Miyamoto Musashi is historically and in FGO a flamboyant, stylish character. She is idiosyncratic. She has her own style. She does things her own way. Has a very solid character voice, mostly about starving and stabbing people, but still, it's there. And cuties. But yeah, when she puts her serious face on, she's like,
we will run away, or we will fight.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't fight dumb, like, you get challenged to some fights in some disadvantageous positions, and she's just like, let's just get the fuck out of here. Let's just go. Let's hide in the hay bale. Let's get out of here. Like,
well, actually, it's like hiding in the hay bale. I think was actually a really important scene, because hiding in the hay bale is post Hozuin going to the dark side.
Yeah, when he becomes Lancer of Purgatorio, he gets the Curse of Annihilation. Also, for some reason, Caster of Limbo drops the Great Satan, the Great Lord Lucifer, and I'm just like, wow.
This
try
is
hard
extra.
much? But this is very classical black magic shit going on here.
Yeah, they do specifically say that they're using I'm not sure how they actually pronounce it. Jesuit.
I've always heard it as Jesuit, but
Jesuit.
I'm not an expert.
Of Jesuit magic. So it's just like, yeah, if you're using Jesuit magic, calling out latent Satan's Lucifer makes sense. But at the same time, as an American, I'm just all like, this feels kind of extra.
Yeah, no, it's like, wow, he is, I think, historically on point, but also you're like, wow, this, considering this was written in a modern time, obviously, this feels a little try-hard. When you're like, yes, by the will of great Satan, it will be done. I'm just like, oh my god, nobody talks like that anymore, dude. Not that we know who Caster of Limbo is yet, but still, it's like, dude, come on, calm down.
Basically,
this, by the way, is after they talk about how much of a badass Hozoin is. His spear work is divine. He could pierce the Buddha himself, in a play on a famous quote.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work because, as we mentioned, the heroic spirit swordmasters are bullshit.
Yeah.
As it comes to find out later, they are so... It's not really a spoiler, because obviously they are bosses. You have to be able to defeat them. We'll talk a little bit about how in a second, because we want to talk about Muramasa. Oh, do we? But, it's revealed later that not only do they have their servants, so they have spirit cores, but their spirit cores are embedded in the ether. They are in non-space. So, you can't just cut their head off. Musashi actually gets a blow-in on Lancer of Purgatorio, takes his head clean off, because, they talk a little bit about the mechanics of her Empyrean Eye, which is, if she can visualize a strike in her mind's eye, and if she does it, it lands.
Oh, excuse me.
Which Raiko actually blocks, which is interesting, but still her eye allows her to basically visualize the path she wants and then follow it. She just has to act on it. But it also doesn't allow her to do impossible things. Like, physically, Raiko can stop the cut, but it still, the perfect blow was aimed appropriately. But she fucking takes Lancer of Purgatorio's head off, and he just... Boop. They do a really cool effect where they show the body parts that are cut in shadow as they regenerate. And then that's I think, the first... No, that's the second time Musashi's technically like, now we run away? Which she has a great quote, which I don't see a lot of people reporting, but I clipped it and posted it on the studio Twitter, where she's just like, this is ridiculous. I'm not fighting an enemy who can be fine after his head is cut off. Who doesn't die when they are killed. And I'm just like, yes, you did the thing, Musashi. This person didn't die when they are killed. Which, obviously, I'm pretty sure, like, the verbiage in Japanese is slightly similar. Like, I think the verb for which translated as killed is, like, to be murdered, basically. I think is how that works grammatically. So, like, the meaning of the word she is using for killed is to mean, I killed that guy. I dealt him a mortal blow, but he did not die as in stop existing.
Yeah.
So, in English, it becomes a funny meme, but in Japanese, the intent is clear. It's the same as, like, just because you are correct, it doesn't mean you're right. I.e., just because you are factually correct, it doesn't mean you are morally and ethically right.
Yeah.
Which in English is usually splitting hairs, but again, I'm pretty sure in Japanese that runs a little bit cleaner. A lot of Shiro's Shiro-isms do.
Talking about this situation, this is an interesting point where, Musashi runs away, and you guys hide in the hay bale, and fucking Hozuin just goes out and murders entire
Well, yeah,
entire
the cursed
village.
swordsmen are there to destroy life, so he's like, there's life in this village, I will stab it.
And you guys just have to, hide in the haystack and just let this shit happen.
And
You're
suck
just
it
all
up,
like,
yeah.
Suck it up.
This is, I think, is one of the first things why I feel like Shimousa is written by Nasu.
People have
now,
just died.
If people don't If people know for sure whether or not he did, let us know, but they stopped officially stating who wrote what segments after part 1 because there was some backlash on certain writers who wrote certain singularities. It was Septum. There's no need for me to beat about the bush. Everybody knows Septum is their least favorite, is generally the fandom's least favorite singularity, so a lot of people gave its author shit. But because there's so much Musashi, who is a character who is very clearly developed by Nasu because her profile is huge and full of Nasu bullshit. He loves to talk about the void and stuff. But also just... also another thing is Makai Tensho, aka Samurai Resurrection, if you've heard of the anime or the movies, was actually a big inspiration for Fate, which I don't think some people realized until this chapter came out, and they're like, wait a minute, isn't this just Makai Tensho? And Nasu was like, guys, it was Makai Tensho the entire time.
Oh, Nasu Bomb.
But also, the general writing style is very Nasu. There's a lot of blood and gore bullshit happens, and you can't do jack shit about it, and you feel bad. You were like, this is a real challenge for you as the player, because even though you do eventually make contact with, well, your command seals reactivate, and you can summon servants, you're still flying solo. You can't talk to Mission Command. You don't meet any other additional servants other than Musashi for a while. You do eventually run into a few, because just, there is a holy grail, there are wild servants, but for a long time, Musashi is your only ally, and you have small children to look after, so you are pretty fucking helpless.
Yeah.
And this really gets that Nasu kind of dread and nihilism feel, where you're just like, where Musashi's like, oh shit, I forgot, servants are faster than people, we need to hide now. And it's like, oh yeah, Hozuin's already here, because he's 1,000,000 times faster than you. That's another thing that I think is important. Mm-hmm. Nasu actually remembers that all servants are supposed to be bullshit strong, so all the servants in this story are really, really bullshit. Like, Musashi's pretty strong because she is supernaturally powered, but like, Hozuin actually shows off before he gets taken over that he can do some pretty impressive stuff as a servant, because he blocks Shuten's NP with his spear and stuff.
Yeah.
And he actually lands a blow on Imperial Saber. It just doesn't work because cursed heroic servants are bullshit.
They're extra layers of bullshit.
The spirit swordsmen are double bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
But still, so yeah, he just fucking goes to town in this village, and there's just a couple lines of dialogue where, like, you sit there not knowing how long, clenching your teeth so hard your gums bleed because you can't do anything as he just kills a shitload of people. And then he catches up to you later after you bail and go to,
Grandpa.
What's-her-face's, Grandpa's hermitage. And he's just like, oh yeah, I destroyed a whole other village, and you're just like,
why?
Did another one? He's just like, cause that's what I do now. I'm Lancer of Purgatorio. I will kill everybody who's alive. You guys are alive. I'm gonna stab you. But this is where we meet old Grandpa Muramasa, which is great. I fucking love this guy. Now you understand why people have been saying Muramasa Wen, because, oh man.
Like, real talk, I do need some voice Muramasa with Grandpa Shiro voice. I think it's absolutely hilarious.
The sprite is limited 0 over Shiro, but
yeah,
the dialogue tone is totally old man dialogue. It's hilarious. It's why, what's-her-face calls him Gramps. I'm sorry, guys, I'm bad with names. But she's like, yeah, he's my grandpa. I'm like, literally his description before he introduces himself is young-looking man, or something.
Yeah. And, so, yeah, speaking about limited 0 over, like, there's actually a bit of a story between those, the three cards, Imaginary Around, Formal Craft, and Limited 0 over. Those 3 cards are supposed to represent the main characters of Fate's Stay Night, and they're basically their perfected mage form.
And also, I believe the way the timing works out with the way FGO was released and Fate's Stay Night and stuff, is it's like them 10 years later, basically.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's again, super interesting, but, like, we already had Rin and Sakura servants, so I guess this is what they decided to do? I'm not sure, but it's still very cool, especially because Muramasa calls this shit out himself. He is a saber, and he's all like, why the fuck am I a saber? I don't use swords, I make swords. But here's the crazy thing. He literally just keeps one-shotting Hozoen with a single sword.
With a defect sword. He calls it this... Yeah. He comes out of his forge and he's just like, fuck, it's another failure. Like, he has a sword on Musashi and he's just like, I'm not gonna use it. It's a fucking failure anyway. Look at all these fucking katanas I got lying around. And he's just like, no, it's another failure. But yes, he fucking one-shots Hozoen a couple times just because he's like... The sword breaks after a couple times, but it's just like, wow. These are your failures? B2 Dubs, I fucking love Muramasa also, because he's like, yeah, I'm not making a sword to cut flesh and bone. I'm trying to make a sword that can sever certainty, karma, bonds. I'm like, holy shit, dude, you are the best. I don't know if he loves swords per se, but I feel like Nasu does have a little bit of a nerd boner for swords, or if that's just when he gets in his Shiro writing voice. But goddamn, there's a lot of, boy, how do I love swords. And Muramasa is all that, and I'm just like, well, I also love swords, so this is great.
We have reached the pinnacle of Sword Boy here.
So yeah, but yes, he is super great, and he's trying to build his thing, and you're like he even says, like, you're right, he's like, why the fuck am I a saber? I don't fight with swords, I make swords, I have all these crafting skills.
I hope whenever we do get a Muramasa servant, anytime he uses his attack, the sword in his hand just breaks.
That would be a cool animation if just he pulls out a sword, smashes it over somebody. That would also be on theme because that is Emiya's overedge technique, is to enhance the swords, or Broken Phantasm technique to enhance the projections so they break.
Yeah.
We talked about that off mic, I think, but that Muramasa finally explains why he's this body, because he's like, so regular Muramasa doesn't have enough heroic deeds, like, I didn't save a nation, I didn't kill 1,000 guys, I was just really famous for swords, so I'm borrowing this body, so I can fully manifest as a wild servant, basically.
Yeah.
But he does say, I'm not sure why, but this body must be compatible with me. Either his, I don't remember his exact phrase, but it's something like, his origin, his life, his ending must have been similar to Muramasa. Maybe he's a student of the Muramasa school, or maybe he's a descendant, which you said off mic, I think, was interesting, because we literally know nothing about Shiro's family. He is a amnesiac orphan. His first memory is Kiritsugu saving him. So it's like, we don't know anything. He could actually, honest to God, be a descendant of the Muramasa clan. Or it could just be, like he said, that Muramasa's ideals, his sword boner, resonates with Shiro's deep personal sword boner. And they're like, yes, this is compatible.
Well, yeah, Shiro's deep personal sword boner is because his origins is literally...
Yeah, both his origin and element are swords.
Yeah. Which could, play into maybe he's an actual fucking descendant.
Who knows? It's like a chicken and egg thing.
Yeah.
But so this is where Musashi gets the ability to fight the spirits, because one of Muramasa's swords is, first of all, it can cut through literally anything physical. He's like, oh, that sword's a failure. It cuts through blood, bone, stone, metal just fine, but it doesn't do what I want it to do.
And you're just like, what?
And you're like, I'm sorry, what? But apparently it is sharp enough to cut, not all the things he wants it to cut, but it is sharp enough to cut karma, because when Musashi cuts Hozoen in the finale, and we'll talk a little bit more about that boss fight in a second, because there's another thing in there that's great, but it does the whole delayed slash thing, but it is apparently sharp enough to sever his karma, which breaks the curse, and then his body is destroyed.
Yeah.
Which is rad. Also, important to note Muramasa's connection to the Tokugawa, because we're talking about it. That Muramasa's blades were famous for killing Tokugawas. This is even said in the story. And they outright banned his swords. They were like, no, these swords are illegal. You will destroy all blades signed by Muramasa. Which is why he has so many legends about his swords being cursed and evil.
Mm-hmm.
That's not that's not really necessarily said to be historically accurate. It's just, yes, they were banned. But that's because they were really fucking good swords that killed a lot of Tokugawa.
Yeah.
The one you hear about usually is Date Masamune, who was a little bit before Muramasa, and sometimes is thought to be maybe Muramasa's teacher. And, the timelines maybe match up, maybe.
The one-eyed dragon, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so Masamune and Muramasa are pretty common Japanese tropes. I think there's a famous anecdote that's obviously not true, but Masamune and Muramasa both made a sword. They put it in a river. Muramasa's sword perfectly cuts a leaf that drifts into the blade in half, showing that it is a sharp sword. But Masamune's sword, the leaf sticks to the blade, showing that it is a blade of life.
Oh,
and thus more perfect and wholesome. So that's all. That's a whole Japanese thing comparing the two famous Swordmasters. But yeah, so Muramasa is tied deeply to the whole Tokugawa plot thing. Remember this. There's a lot of foreshadowing. But we'll talk about that next, I think, because right now we're at a good point to talk about the actual fight with Lancer of Purgatorio.
Yeah. So, as I said, once I can't remember the actual name of the sword, but it's like
he does have a name. It means God Cutter, but I don't remember the exact way he
it was like Myogen something Muramasa.
It ends in Giri or in there, I think. So it might be
Myogen Giri?
Mugen Giri or Mugen Nagiri?
It's something.
Because Giri is to cut. So it's the God Cutter.
But you get that, and Hosen wins are like, alright, we're going to the final fucking showdown! And basically summons a pseudo...
He creates some kind of bounded field. You say it could be like a reality marble.
And it basically said, this is the arena, whoever loses will have their soul devoured. And when you get into the battle, here's something that I completely shook me. You get a fucking announcer who announces both participants. And classic samurai fashion, it's we have the Lancer of Purgatorio. What is his name? Hosoin, it's the
all-piercing spear.
The all-piercing spear, and I was like, this is so extra, I fucking love it. This is the
I know. I knew that they were a little bit extra fancy. I didn't know they were fully, voiced out with subtitles. They did put the subtitles in first, I was just like, I'm so glad I never actually, watched anybody play Shimousa, because this is great. I love this.
Yeah. And when you actually, defeat them, you don't get a victory, you get karma severed. I was all like, yeah, this is good.
Yeah, Shimousa is very tryhard and very extra, but in all the right ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a really good moment and that will persist in all the boss battles.
Yeah.
But we talked about foreshadowing. Musashi does a lot of fucking foreshadowing because she's also a time traveler.
Yeah. So, one of the ones that popped out at me is Musashi mentions fighting a bat monster at Himeji Castle. But interesting enough, this is also actually a historical account.
Yeah, I'm not sure the exact details of the legend, but yes, there is supposedly a legend that Miyamoto Musashi went to Himeji Castle and fought something there and met the castle ghost, who, in case you don't know, that's Osakabe Hime, which is, Kabe means wall, so she's the Great Wall Princess, or ghost.
Mm-hmm. Who, in FGO, has a bat theme.
Yes, because she didn't want. And also, slight spoilers for Himeji Castle, the Halloween event that's coming up. But she has a giant Musashi bean plush in her room, among her many, many other otaku goods.
Yeah. This is probably one of the reasons why Osakabe Hime and Musashi shipping is such a thing.
Mm-hmm. And they even paired them again in Summer 4, because they show up, both of them together. Which is a thing, because Musashi mentions America. She's like, oh, these blue skies are great. I really liked America's skies, though. Because you talk about the America singularity, where you had to cross an entire continent. And Musashi's like, oh, wow, we're only, walking down a valley. How did you manage that? And I'm like, I don't know. But
how does time even work?
So that was kind of funny that, they seem to kind of reference the fact that the America chapter is, grossly out of scale.
Mm-hmm.
But also, Musashi talks about how she's been to America and she likes it a lot there. Interesting. Because, hey, welcome to Summer 4 2 years later. And Musashi is like, woo, America, I've got guns now. I'm like, did they? I don't know if they necessarily planned it that far out, though obviously the translation team can plan it that far out, because they know about future stuff before it happens. But still, it's like, wow, that's just some deep level foreshadowing. So that's all our notes on Shimousa's first impressions.
Yep.
It's really good.
It's good. I don't think I've gotten to the meat of the situation yet.
Mm-hmm.
as I said, I have I'm far enough in the story that things have opened up a bit. There are I've seen some stuff. I have met Kanto Danso, and she is as precious as I thought she was. Also, I have met.
I'm not that far yet myself, but a lot of people are saying that about her.
Yeah, I've also met Sitting Master, and also the Princess and the Geisha, which is interesting. Also, I am super glad that at some point, like minor spoilers, I'm super glad that you do actually get specifically a Chaldean servant to hang with you, even though it almost cost him his fucking life to do it. Fumikataro is a good boy. He's also on point for the era.
Yeah.
But I think that's it for me in Shimousa. Like, as I said, right now I'm not playing. I'm actually working on an Azure Lane right now before I get...
Because there's stuff, like I said, I need to make sure I'm doing.
Yeah.
But okay, well, so we talked about Shimousa's story. Now, actually, I just reminded myself because I'm looking at my tabs. I pulled this up. I want to read the descriptions for the 3 CEs.
Okay.
So, formal craft is mastery of the basics is proof of one's superiority. A beautiful, elegant, average one who rules over earth, water, fire, wind, and ether, that's Rin's element is average one, which is all 5 elements because she's bullshit a little bit. Imaginary around is imagination is proof of one's freedom. The imaginary numbers of shadow dance sprightly upon the wind. So that's a really positive message for Sakura, and her kind of unique abilities. And then limited 0 over. Convergence is proof of one's ideals. As you hammer the blade upon the anvil, you burn thyself all the more brightly.
That actually... That something might be a little bit more foreshadowing than one might think.
Yeah, so it's... I just said this in our patron chat for the audience. Nasu likes not even his lore bombs, not even his, lore surprises, his fucking lore Hail Marys. He is throwing that lore bomb from downtown. Because, obviously, we're over 2 years in now, and Limited 0 Over was a launch CE, which came with that description. So it's like, did you really plan this far in advance, or was it just kind of a vague idea, and you're just like, boom?
I want to imagine that Nasu has actually written everything, and he's just releasing things in installments.
So yeah, he's just like, activate it. Let's talk about Shimousa's servants. If you're curious about Musashi, because she's a returning 5-star, check out Wanted Musashi. But for now, we're going to do So You Didn't Get That 5-star Shimousa Shodan Edition, because this has only been going on for an hour and 15 minutes. So, I will begin. Alright, so, it's time first up for Tomoe, our favorite hot Oni wife. It's a pun, get it? She is the current SR Archer highest attack. There will be a couple more who come out later who beat her, but for now, highest attack. Pretty good. It'll be a little bit before she's outpaced. But that means she does suffer from the lowest HP. Well, you have to make trades in this business. She has a Saber-styled QAA BB deck, with relatively low hit counts compensated by high NP gain. The usual shenanigans. I think she's 2 in her arts. Probably 3 in that one. 3 in that one quick, but I don't remember off the top of my head. And for her build, her NP is obviously the centerpiece. It's a single target buster. It reduces the foe's critical chance. It burns them for 5 turns, then it inflicts what is commonly referred to in the biz as overheat, but is just mechanically referred to as increases burn damage. So, she tags them with burn, and then she tags them with a second status effect, which is increase all their burn damage. It's just plus 1,000 whenever they take burn damage, but her burn is 1,000, so basically it doubles her burn on them. Which is over 5 turns, so that's, if you can live that long, that's a decent amount of HP. And thus, we begin burn memes. If you want to make burn-focused damage, Tomoe is pretty important. So her first skill is she has a B-rank Oni Charisma, power of an Oni. Gives the team up to 19% attack, gives her, I think it's 28% NP up for 3 turns, so that's pretty decent. Pretty decent little NP steroid if you combine them together. Her second skill is Knowledge of Chaotic Battle B, that increases her star weight and gen for 3 turns, which is pretty robust. If you're hitting with her buster cards, or her single quick, it will be pretty good. And also, like I said, she's an archer, so she already has decent star weight, so 3-turn buff means that she will be getting a lot of those crit cards for a while. And then her final skill is called Adrenaline Rush, This gives her a pretty decently scaling Guts for 5 turns, with like 2k max, I think, heal. One time, obviously, but 5 turns. And also increases her max HP by an amount, I think by up to 3k. For not too long a cooldown, it's only like 7 turns at its lowest, which is longer than you'd like, but still not as long as some of these skills can get. So it's a pretty good endurance build for her. Obviously, she is supposed to whittle down enemies. She has Magic Resistance B, so decent protection from debuffs. Independent Action A, so she crits pretty hard. And Madness Enhancement E, so her NP and her 2 Buster cards have a very slight amount of steroid. You can use her a couple ways, I think, depending on your team setup and what cards she gets. So with her star weight bonus up, you can, I think, try and spam her NP by getting her arts crits and putting her on teams with arts-focused servants. Right? Because she still has a Buster NP, obviously, but she's got 2 arts cards, and if you can crit with those, with her crit strength, she will generate quite a bit of NP. She has a high number. Or you can just do Buster memes and do that sweet NP BB swing turn. Do her NP, and then do Buster, extra attack with Buster crit up. You know, Merlin helps her charge her NP. Hero Creation gives her even more max HP. So she is quite flexible with various team setups. You know?
She, good girl.
Yeah. Like I said, really interesting design, and really plays with the design space for burn. You're going to see a lot of weird combos with burn are now possible because Tomoe can make everybody's burn damage better for like 5 turns. So next let's talk about Chiyome, aka Punished Miyu, because they do look similar. I believe it's the same artist. It's the manga artist for Prisma.
Mm-hmm.
So she's an assassin with a very interesting quick arts Buster deck. She is a arts assassin. As pretty usual, her hit counts are moderate, but like a lot of assassins, she has pretty high NP gain. Her attack is somewhat low, but her HP is highest for the SR class, tied with Yang King. So, basically, she fits in with the stall crowd. High HP, low attack, arts-leaning focus. Her NP is a single-target arts, which skill seals the target and reduces their critical chance. It also has a decent number of hits. And she has 2 arts cards, so she can arts chain. Her first skill is an NP seal with a 5-turn cooldown. Her second skill is a decent art steroid for 3 turns, maximum 30%. And also makes her regular attack have a very high chance to inflict a small amount of 3-turn curse damage for 3 turns. On her regular attacks. So every time within her 3 turns that she makes a regular attack, her cards will probably give them a 3-turn curse. And I believe that, I noted now that there's a mechanical update that burn stacks. I believe curse already stacked, because I've stacked it for multiple people before. So, this means that if you're using her a lot, she can slap a lot of dot on people. Her final skill is a 30% up to 30% NP battery and 1 turn evade. So, a pretty typical self-charger, get me out of a bind skill. She has Presence Concealment A as her only passive skill, but that is an A, and she's already an assassin, so that means she has very good star gen on her 2 quick cards. So basically, Chiyome is a stall. She can try an NP spam, which will block out your enemy's use of skills and crits. She can also seal their NP or evade in a pinch, and constantly whittle at them with her NP damage or DOT damage, while also being a decent star generator on those 2 quick cards. So I've got her at NP2. I'm not using her a lot because it's Shimousa, but you know that while I don't have a Tamamo, I do still have a pretty good art setup with characters like Waver, like Mash, so like John. So obviously, if I needed to, Chiyome could be a definite pinch hitter in that offense setup. So next up, Hozoin is an entirely different beast, or is he, Ku solo players? So he's a new permanent rare Lancer with a quick Arts Buster deck, but an Arts NP. You might be going, what? So, follow me on this. His attack is the lowest, and yet, shockingly, his HP is not the highest, but still pretty decent. But because of his deck setup and low hit counts, his NP gain is very high. It's like over 1% per hit. And Lancers already have a moderate star gen. They're at like 12%. Assassins are 25%, for instance, as an example. And they're the highest. So you can kind of start to see where this is going, but his NP is the focus here. It is a self-buff type. It gives him up to 50% attack for 3 turns, so because he's a 3-star, 50% attack for 3 turns, because it's NP level scaling. It gives him 100% crit strength for 3 turns, guaranteed. He becomes immune to instant death for 1 turn, and he gains 1 hit of evade. And the overcharge is it improves star generation for 3 turns by starting at 100%. So it doubles his star gen, it doubles his crit strength, and it gives him times 1.5 attack. That's a big deal. Also, this is arts, so theoretically he can stack. Because you could do an NPAQ chain, or NPQQ. So, basically, you fire this off, he starts hitting and critting hard. And because his star gen is buffed, and he has 3 quick cards, he will continue to crit. He has Knowledge of the Sawa, which gives him a 3 turns of sure hit, and another 3 turns of a smaller star gen buff. So, basically, he can beat evasion and will generate even more stars. Truth of Martial Arts, B is a 1-turn green mana burst, so use that when you're going to drop a quick Brave Chain, and gives him 100% debuff resist for 3 turns. 5-turn cooldown is pretty good. And then, I don't remember which the translated name is, the wiki's not updated, so it's still called Sen no Sen. But he uses this a lot in his boss fight. This is the one where he gives you a 1-turn NP seal and reduces your defense by up to 20%. So, he can keep enemies from dropping a hit on him until he can pop his evade, and also lowers their defense. Now, passives he only has magic resistance D+, but still, expect to see a lot of Hozoin memes from now on. He's fairly self-reliant, especially solo, because you get to see and use his full deck spread in a turn, so you can be like, alright, I'm gonna pop his Truth of Martial Arts, and I'm gonna do all 3 quick cards this turn, and I'm gonna generate a shitload of stars. Or, now I'm gonna do, like, NP to start the buffs, and then I'm going to end on a Buster Crit, kind of thing. So, yes, he will have a lot of weird, interesting solo opportunities in the future, and he's just an all-around, a very good and robust Lancer. Can't wait for him to be in the FP Gacha proper so I can roll 5 copies of him. Also, he's a great guy. I think that Shimousa does a really good job of, because they do the whole mind control gimmick again.
Mm.
But they introduce you to the real character first, so you actually get to like and appreciate him, as opposed to, say, Tristan, who is just like, well, Reversal Tristan in Camelot is just a scumbag. And a lot of people's opinions of him did not recover from that. So I like that they... Well, obviously it's more tragic and gut-wrenching this way. Thanks, Nasu. That's another reason why I'm like, Nasu wrote this, didn't he? It also definitely sets up his character, because you're not just like, well, that guy was an asshole. You're like, that guy was my friend. Caster of Limbo is an asshole.
How
get to punch later.
Very dare.
Well, yeah, I won't reiterate it. Lucky I may have forgotten what I said in the pregame. I don't want to ruin anything for future, but we may have said some stuff about it. But anyway, Limbo will be fought, and we'll talk more about him later. Expect us to be talking about Shimousa for at least another week, probably 2.
Like, I remember who Caster of Limbo is, but like, seeing him in here, I'm all like, I'm confused. I'm like super fucking confused.
Yeah, if you have a little bit of pre-knowledge, it gets a little weird. But
yeah.
Luckily, that'll sort itself out when the timelines converge later this year.
Oh, okay.
We'll be a little bit more on point later when stuff happens, but is that a spoiler? I guess it could be. Well, no, he's a servant, so he is explicitly a caster, so he can. He is a recurring character after this point, and that's not necessarily a spoiler, because any servant who is summoned could theoretically be a recurring character.
Yeah.
But he is not a character that is unique to Shimousa. Yeah. So that's all the servants. They're pretty good. Shimousa introduced a lot of good permanents. We'll talk more about the story-locked ones, who are also said to be really good, next week, but their banners aren't up, so I don't want to, give anything away. We'll keep playing it to the vest until the game lets them out. Plus, this episode is already an hour and a half long, unedited, and now we've got to talk about Babylonia.
Yeah, you do.
I think we'll skip my comments, my ramblings about height for this week. But, hey, kids, especially if you're one of our majority American listeners, because I know they are because of analytics, actually translate the heights of some servants, especially ladies, into real numbers sometime. Your mind will be blown. I think we've already explicitly talked about on the show about how weights of female servants are just bullshit.
Yeah.
Because they're... I believe it's been explained that they were literally taken from Japanese gravure idols, which are lies. They're literally lies. That's not how much that girl actually weighs. That's just what they say in the magazine. So, those are just false. They are not physically possible. But the heights are physically possible, but they're hilarious. Nero, for instance, was, I believe, described on air by friend of the show, Commander Quartz, as fun size, and he's not kidding. But I'm pretty sure he said that on our show once. She's like 4'9", 4'10" or something. It's ludicrous. There's even a joke about her height in her third interlude, where you're like, are you sure you're not sensitive about her height? And she's just like, of course not. I'm definitely not sensitive about the fact that I'm small. And like, you're tiny, but your boobs are huge. How does this work?
Amazingly, that's how.
Yes, she is a confirmed short stack.
Short and stacked. Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's what that abbreviation stands for. Did I teach Lucky a thing? Did you not know that short stack was the official internet term for that kind of character design?
Nope.
Okay. Well, Lucky has a new thing he can Google now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just like I said, look at that, and maybe next week, if we don't have anything else to talk about, we'll mention that, because I was with the community, and we had a good, long study. We did some fucking science to these characters, and it was just like, what the fuck is happening here? Another common one is Medusa is like, I'm a giant, I'm ugly. She's like 5'7".
Well, we also determined that this because she is just putting herself in constant relation to her
later they
sisters.
kind of retconned it, because I think Natsu realized that even by Japanese standards, 5'7", like, it's tall for a woman, but 5'7" isn't that freakishly huge. So, they made it because her sisters are tiny. So, she has a conflict because her sisters are very small, but still, it's pretty funny, because it's like, you're not really a giant. Heck, Urele and Setheno aren't even super that short. I think they're like 4'11". They're like barely sub 5 feet. I think they are taller than, I think that, Setheno and Urele are taller than Nero. And also, Axe, they don't really condemn women who are tall. That's just you taking a broadside shot at waifuism, as usual. Like, tall ladies are totally a thing, and there are definitely, oh man, there's some artworks, there's some professional cultured works on ladies who are very big in lots of ways. It's just, they do definitely have a broader societal focus on the small and petite, but that obviously means that some people are like, no, fuck the norms, I want a giant woman. So you will, especially in a waifuism game like FGO, you will see the contrast. It's just, FGO did tend to smaller characters. Like, heck, Shiro's fucking small. Like, obviously, he's a Japanese high school kid, but he's still pretty short, obviously, which is hilarious. So, it's just funny that the way that a lot of Fate works work out is that the characters are very weirdly heights and weights. When they even report their height and weight. Like, we don't actually know how tall Gorgon is. Well, also, that's another thing, is, Anne and Mary are supposed to be basically the same height, it's just their sprites are not done well. So, Mary looks super short. I think it's Mary. But they're really, like, they're within inches of each other. It's, that's another thing, like, small Da Vinci is supposed to be obviously shorter than her regular height, but the way her sprites are drawn, they're the same size. Which means there obviously is a problem with Da Vinci's classic sprites. So, Da Vinci animation update when?
Please, thanks, bye.
And not even not even her animations have to be different, just redraw her sprites so they're a little bit more proportioned. But yeah, it's weird. There are a lot of, like, this is technically a game with a sprite-based art style, which are supposed to be tiny. They're for phones. Like, you're not supposed to be blowing this up to 60-inch screens, 1080p, or 4K resolution 60 frames, okay? Like, it's for your phone. And FGO is not very technically advanced most of the time, but still, yes, some of the older sprites are not super well detailed, and it gets weird. But yeah, we'll talk more about that science later, or just leave people to discuss it in the comments. So, actually, before we do that, let me pop open Patreon, because we are coming up on the end of the poll. It's not quite over yet, but will be a few days. But I will go ahead and check.
Well, it's time for me to post this. And Hell, not safe for work.
Oh my.
Here it comes.
Well, luckily I can't look right this second because I'm trying to look at our Patreon poll results that our lovely patrons have done. Oh my. Sakimi is great.
Mm-hmm.
Very close. So, I think the votes haven't really changed much, since the last time. Holy Church is still edging out very slightly, but, there are about 5 days left, and, as of the time we're recording this anyway, and it's very close. It could be anybody's game still. Excuse me, as I crack my bones, because I've been sitting for a while. But okie dokie. Yes, I am on my personal Twitter. I can retweet this. Not that considering how much we've talked about Fire Emblem, I couldn't retweet this on the studio channel, but I try to be professional.
Try.
But yeah, so, now is the time when we talk about Babylonia 1. We're gonna talk about Babylonia 1 now.
Mhm.
So let's talk about Babylonia 1. I've given them the warning 3 times. If there are complaints in the comments, I will be cross with you. So, Babylonia 1. So we talked about this last week that I think 0 through 2 were shown at the special premiere event in LA.
Yeah.
So some people know a little bit ahead of the future.
Future!
But, 1 played. It's been a while. I watched it fairly early, so my memory's a little hazy about the general structure. But it plays out about like you'd expect. So there's a big recap. There's some scenes of all the different singularities, which are cool. Kind of like not quite the same effect as episode 0, but a similar like little recap thing. You get all your little intros. Da Vinci shows up, and Da Vinci's at everybody. She's just here for exposition. You coordinate the whole thing, and then Romani's like, okay, start the last Grand Order. Boom. Do it. There's a big scene where they ray shift, just like in the actual thing, you're in the sky and you fall. So this was a complaint Lucky and I both had. I feel like they're kind of stealing Camelot's thunder a little bit.
A little bit.
Because, while Mash does go to her final ascension, her last ascension that matters for this, she goes the whole cloak and stuff. She activates her noble phantasm and drops the name of the heroic spirit she's bonded with in a very casual way, in case you didn't know. And does Lord Camelot to survive the fall. And I'm just like, oh. Like, I'm sure, especially with Studio IG behind it, that the scene in the movies will be really good and cool, but I'm just like, oh, I feel like you sucked a little bit of the suspense out, because now you've already shown it on TV medium. But yeah, so she pops her noble phantasm to survive the fall. You do that. Foe is adorable.
Mhm.
And then, in true FGO fashion, you immediately fight mobs. I love it. It's just like, oh, we've been here about 5 seconds. Hey, there's a shitload of demonic beasts. Smash them all. Which she does. I know that there are some people who will not shut up about how in-game Mash is a tank character who can't kill anything, and they're just completely upset that she can actually fight people. And I'm just like,
Again,
no,
reminder
she can.
that
She's super strong. Did you see episode 0?
It's like, just because her focus is defense does not mean she cannot fight.
Yeah, she's still strength C, I think. Like, she is in the average parameter for servants who are all super strong. So yeah, Mash kicks some ass.
Well, like, here's the thing. People complain about it, but I have still used MASH to fucking end some people.
Well, yeah, that was a very old-fashioned strategy in the early story days when you had nothing better to do is just take MASH, and I still oftentimes stick MASH with Necroman in scenes. It's just like, MASH, can you just hold on here and guts about 5 times in a row and end this for me? Okay, thanks. Cool.
Awesome,
and
you're the
usually
best.
it works.
Yeah.
Especially once
Just
her
because
skills get upgraded.
Just because she doesn't have, like, attack-oriented skills or a class advantage doesn't mean she doesn't do damage.
And yes, sometimes her animations are a little weird, but, like, in the anime there, she's a little weird. But she still has a big fucking heavy shield to hit people with, and also can punch and kick. I think I said this before, choreography would probably be easier if they used her 3rd ascension and she had a sword, but that's also not how Mash fights in the game, so, whatever. It's still cool.
She will hit you with the back of the shield.
She will smack you with the shield, she will kick you, she did her fucking spin flip kick, she can throw the shield at people. We actually get to see the protagonist do some magic. I think he does reinforcement on MASH.
Yeah.
But still, he does Mystic Code stuff, which is cool. You're not a complete useless. But then even more demonic beasts show up. But after this, we get to see Ishtar show up, she blows up some guys, and then she's like, look out below, and fucking hip checks the protagonist. Hello,
This
I'm your
has
cushion.
been analyzed down to the frame, and there is now a giant influx of Ishtar butt in the art scene.
Yeah, Ishtar hip thrust memes. We even have it. Somebody isolated and transparent it, so we even had it as an emote. It is the defend emote because clearly something is defended now. It fights back, kids. That's a joke for all our classic fans down in the comments. But yeah, so you have the adorable little meet cute, which is kind of like how it worked out in Babylonia, but now animated, so it's funnier. Ishtar is great. She's exactly what you'd expect. Kind of Ueda perfectly projects her Rin level haughtiness, but with Ishtar's, even more egotistical dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Which works out great. And then a shitload more demonic beasts show up and Ishtar blows them all up.
And some great animation. Like, honestly.
Yes, no, they go all out. She, fucking flips out and soars around the place, shooting gems at, gem beams at things.
Kicking things.
Spin kicks, all kinds of stuff. They
and then
really
slides
cut
back.
loose.
And slides back to the beginning. Like, she
Nothing
is the
happens.
absolute shit.
And just tosses her hair. And imagine the protagonist are like, hot damn. Hey, can we be on your team? And she's like, no, I'm gonna fly now. Bye-bye.
Like, you don't know who I am, which is probably the only thing that keeps me from kicking your ass. Because how dare you? How dare you land? How dare you be where I landed?
And then, it's like, Ishtar away! She flies off. Great intro to her character, though. Sets her up perfectly. And then, in perfect FGO fashion, there's a third Pip on this story map, so we have to fight again. I just love how much the anime feels like the game. I'm like, okay, so it's the first chapter, and obviously there's 3 fucking fights against these guys. Of course there is. God damn it. But then Enkidu shows up and completely murks all these guys. Which, by the way, actually, we should have mentioned, that was the intro stream before even the credits rolled, was Enkidu dies in Gil's arms, and it's super sad, and you're like, oh, wow. Gil, you actually seem like less of an asshole now when it's actually about your legend and not just how much of a douchebag you are. But we do get a preview of Caskill, who's like, okay, Final Master, it's time for you to show up. I'm ready. It's rock and roll. We get to see Uruk from a distance. It's cool.
Mm.
But yeah, so Enkidu, quote unquote, shows up, which anybody who is obviously listening to this should hopefully know some things about Babylonia now. Some of you don't, but hey, the anime's gonna spoil that for you if you haven't beaten it. So
Yeah.
yeah. But they do all the stuff basically, and then Enkidu goes apeshit, kills a whole shitload of them. Really brutal, by the way. I think Camper pointed this out. It's like, you could just have them fade into smoke like the game does. No, they have blood and bone and stuff, and they die hard.
Oh, yeah, no, there are heads decapitated. It's a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
Well,
Enkidu and Ishtar don't hold back, so...
Well, I think it's fair to point, because this isn't like the game where things just kind of disappear and miss. Like, these are actual, living, actual fucking
right.
beasts.
These are physical bodies which are getting torn up by servants who are very powerful. So, it makes sense. But so we meet up with quote-unquote Enkidu, and he's like, yo, I'm her expert Enkidu. I'm gonna show you some shit. Follow me.
And this is one of my favorite things, is they do the fucking Lord of the Rings just scenic walking montage.
Yes.
And they show,
it's like a short, it's not even 5 minutes, I think, but it's just a short montage cut of they walk. And I'm like, oh, this is just the animation where we cleared the story node and we're moving to the next space.
Yeah. And honestly, at this moment, you can actually see they put a lot of effort into these background scenes.
Yeah, all of the you can tell that Aniplex, the parent company, and Aniplex and probably Sony by extension, they sunk a lot of cash into the studio to make this anime. They were like,
yeah,
hey, this mobile game prints money. It's like what was it, Rage of Bahamut, the anime, where apparently the studio who made that game, which I don't know anything about other than that it also has Jeanne d'Arc, because I don't know why, but the Japanese people love Jeanne. Who knows?
CY Games. They actually make a lot of anime, believe it or not.
But yeah, so they make a lot of mobile games and they make a lot of anime adaptations, but they had a fuck ton of money, so they were like, they told the studio asked how much they could expect the budget for the Rage of Bahamut anime, and they were like, whatever you need. So they wrote a blank check, and while I didn't watch all of it because the plot was very generic, and very, very, weirdly generic Japanese, but the animation was fucking phenomenal. Like, every cell was an artwork. Babylonia is much that same way. Like, Background shots, beautiful, perfect work. Action shots, fluid, crisp. Static shots, everybody's, got really good high-quality line art. It's all a very professional, put-together production of the highest quality. So yeah, they're spending their fucking money on this. But they do that big background montage, and that's where the episode ends, is we get the huge wide shot, which was an in-game CG, I think.
Yeah, they show the, because, Enkidu is, given the exposition there at this point of what the fuck is happening.
So there's the Goddess Alliance, blah, blah, blah. The worst goddess of all is the mother of monsters. Tiamat, she's here. She's created a bunch of demonic beasts that are trying to overrun Uruk. But don't worry, humans are standing strong. Look there. Boom, it's a wall. And they do the big sweeping shot, and the Master and Mash are just like, holy shit. Because it's a big fucking wall, and it's a lot of demonic beasts.
At this point, credits roll. But they leave a stinger. And
it's fucking Merlin and Anna in the forest, and Merlin's just like, oh, I guess it's about time then.
And we end.
And apparently that scene coming up in episode 2 involving Merlin is animated, and it's good. We don't know yet, because the episode comes out tomorrow. I think I'm going to have me a little anime watching day, because tomorrow should be the day that my hero comes back, and also I haven't watched Azure Lane yet.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you guys right now, Funimation now actually does have like a 2-week free trial. So
it's 2 weeks, that's good. I was going to ask you, because I wasn't fully unexpectedly, but Rooster Teeth changed their payment plans for first, and apparently that reactivated the auto-renew. So, while I could afford it, I was unexpectedly dinged with my renewal recently, so I'm like, how much is the Funimation trial? I want to make sure. I don't actually get charged at anything, but it's okay. 2 weeks is good, okay.
Yeah.
I'll lock that in and try that out, because they do seem like they do good work.
I've actually tried a few more animes, and
Actually, here's a good question. Because I'm sure Funimation did the dub, but I haven't seen anywhere where you can watch, because I believe there's an ad for a second My Hero movie. Does Funimation have the first one? Do you know?
I don't know, actually. Hang on, let me...
Because that's another thing I just realized, I still haven't seen the first one of those.
Because interestingly enough, I'm going to talk about this, but Funimation actually has a lot under the hood, and it's for the better and the good, but makes, like, I can,
Yeah, big libraries can be a detriment sometime. If you don't know what you're looking for.
Yeah, but let me see here. I can check.
But still, that's pretty good. But yeah, I think that's everything we're talking about the Babylonia. But yeah, there were a lot of ass memes, because there are some... Mash gets a low-angle behind shot. Ishtar gets a lot of low-angle shots, but that's because Ishtar is all legs. Like, there is nothing but skin except for the parts that would be illegal to show on television.
Funimation does not have the movie.
Damn. Still. They do good work. They do goo.
They have seasons 1 through 3 and extras. Interesting enough, they only have the English.
Oh, well, that's fine, because I do want to try that out.
Yep.
I'm more used to the Japanese, but I've always heard people say that the dub is really good, and it's only on Funimation. So, like, I don't even. Is it on? Not that I have TV, but is it on TV somewhere? Does like Toonami do that?
They might.
I don't know. I don't have cable anymore. It's hard to tell. But that's a discussion for like a What's Up or whatever. Because we're coming up on 2 hours, and I think we're done, because we've talked about our general thoughts about the Babylonia anime.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about the plot. So, episode 1, good. Looks good. Like, I was pretty confident after 0, but that didn't have a lot of action. And obviously, it was all basically original story. Like, all of those events have been alluded to, but never shown on screen.
Oh, yeah.
So, this was like... This gave us our first look at the pacing, and I'm like, this is paced appropriately. This feels like FGO. Like, they cut out some of the faff, but also, obviously, like I said, they keep the feel of, like, and then you fought, like, a whole bunch of dudes over and over again. And some people have called out, like, oh, man, you're outnumbered, why don't you summon some servants? And I'm like, I can't do that yet. You get to do it because it's a gameplay conceit, but you can't do that in story until you establish a ley line, which we haven't done yet. So, we'll see as episodes unfold how the pacing stays. But I'm pretty confident that the pacing will be pretty good, and there are going to be some good moments in this anime, just because Babylonia is full of... We talked about Babylonia for, like, forever when it came out, multiple times. But there are going to be some really good scenes that I'm going to be like, this is going to look good animated. Just because the anime looks good, so... Unless they blew their entire production budget on episode 1, which I don't think so. I think they have a huge production budget because it's FGO. Mm-hmm. This was a project that was picked knowing what fans wanted the most, and FGO makes a lot of money, so I'm pretty sure they can afford to give it whatever money it needs to be beautiful. It's like, though there are some studios that just make good stuff, but I, like, Violet Evergarden just looks really good, but I wonder if some of that was because Netflix bought, like, exclusive rights, you know?
Well, Violet Evergarden also looks good because it was done by Kyoto Animation, which
Right,
actually...
but the studio does really good work, but I'm wondering if,
Yeah.
like, they were possible to pick up that anime adaptation because Netflix was like, we're interested in this, we would like to pay you large amounts of money to exclusively export it to us.
Yeah, they possibly can. Like
Netflix is working
actually...
a lot with, interestingly enough, Studio IG. They did, like, Be the Beginning and stuff like that, and I think they've got the Ghost in the Shell standalone complex seasons locked in. Netflix does 2020.
I don't know.
For that.
I will say, Ghost in the Shell Arise is on Funimation now. I did see that.
That's good because I've also never watched all of those. I really like Ghost in the Shell. I've watched some of Arise, but I never watched all of it. But no, standalone complex is. I bet that's once again that's probably because Funimation did the dub, but Studio IG is actually doing a continuation of standalone complex, which I'm super excited for because I love SAC a lot. I've talked about Ghost in the Shell as one of my all-time favorite anime.
Yeah, I actually was kind of hopeful that standalone complex had been on Funimation, but it's not. I was like, damn it!
No, it's a little hard. I'm glad I've got some DVDs. I know that Netflix, when they partner up and they actually fund an anime, they pick good studios, but also they give them the money they need to make it look pretty good. So,
oh yeah, like one of the animes I'm interested in this year, this core Beastars is actually on Netflix right now, and it looks really good. It's on fucking Netflix. I'm like, God fucking damn it.
Though also to preemptively mention something, I still haven't watched Princess Principal because I've been busy. I've been juggling too many things. It's on my list, but I'm like, fuck, I don't have time to sit down and watch an entire anime yet.
Yeah, at the tangent, Lucky is finally watching Strike Witches because he has actually never seen it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
Strike Witches is a really old. It's arguably a really old inspiration for Mages of War because that was like
that's the main reason. That was one of the main reasons. I'm like, I should get this. There's also other reasons, but I'll talk about that on What's Up.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more on What's Up. Also, funnily enough, FGO Fate Go USA just retweeted, "Hey, make sure to watch Babylonia episode 1 before Babylonia episode 2 comes out tomorrow." I'm like,
on Funimation.
Guys. Yeah, on Funimation.
I was like, I got you.
Also, technically, they said #FGO episode 7, so I don't know if that's the official tag because it's the 7th chapter or what, or if they'll have.
Oh no, it's totally episode 7 for the 7th chapter.
Okay, I was just like, is that the right hashtag, or did you mean to do 2? But whatever.
No,
so it's funny.
Yeah,
7th chapter. But yeah, so that was us talking about anime stuff. The anime is probably going to continue to be good because they have lots of money and obviously talent. Alright, well that's everything. So next week, expect us to talk even more about Shimousa. After a week, we'll probably be done with all of it. I don't think Shimousa's super long. I've got plenty of gold apples.
No, my mouse! Wait, that ain't my mouse. Oh no, my controller! There we go.
Perfectly timed. But yeah, so next week we will continue to talk about Shimousa. If there's any new news, we will talk about it. We might get to see if we've hit the goals for that release campaign on social media, etc. Other than that, we'll just keep hitting you up with whatever's cool and new.
Yeah,
like if there's
that's how we do.
Secret reveals in the Oniland thing or what.
Yeah, it does look like Fate Grand Order Japan has said, hey, it's coming.
No, it's out now.
It's out now, yeah.
Yeah, it just started today.
Yeah.
They're in the future because it started the 11th, so it will have started by now because it's, future past stuff.
Future past.
But interestingly enough, goes on till the 24th, which is that is a couple of weeks. Okay.
That's like a weekend. Actually, that's a little less than 2 weeks. Yeah, this is actually pretty long rerun.
That's just under 2 weeks, which is a full-size rerun, but that probably means that Friday they're going to start the new Halloween, like right after. And so that's still a couple of weeks away, but still super interesting. But even though we record on a Friday, we might not get souped on that because future stuff, time zones.
Nice.
But all right, I guess that's a good point to wind down the episode. Unless you have any other final thoughts you want to give, Lucky.
No.
Okay, it was good. I was just you making that long noise was a good excuse so I could stretch. Flex out my back muscles. But all right, then it's time to do the YouTube outro. So hey everybody, if you watch this on YouTube, be sure to give us a like. If you liked it, or if you didn't, do it anyway. I dare you. I double dog dare you. If you have any comments, leave them in the comment section down below. You can also hit us up on our Discord. That link is in the description. It's good for when Lucky stream stuff. And also lots and lots of other discussions. And of course, if you are new here and haven't already, please subscribe to our channel so you can always catch our latest videos. And even if you're already subscribed, make sure to hit that bell for notifications so you know right away when we post a new video. In case we post them at weird times or anything. It's really handy. Lets you know. Also, lets you know when we actually start live streaming stuff on YouTube. When that happens.
I guess I will mention, we've been having trouble with YouTube just eating fucking streams after the fact, so I haven't been streaming.
And also I have been ill lately. I started to get a little sick at the end of last week's episode, and I talked about it on the WhatsApp we recorded and put out. So I haven't figured out when I'm gonna because it's October, it's well into October, so it's a good time for me to stream stuff like Soma, which I've wanted to do for a while. So we're gonna play around with streams in the not too distant future if you're interested in that sort of thing, but also, we're unsure of how YouTube is gonna work with that because it's been a little weird lately for us.
Yeah.
So the streams will still happen. It's a question mark about whether or not YouTube will make sure to archive them correctly. But yeah, so that's a good reason to turn on notifications. And of course, like it says at the front of the show, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early in audio format for as little as $1 a month. Literally, is the moment I am done with a thumbnail, or at least editing Lucky's thumbnail now, because I don't have to go back to classics. But I just, add a little banner there, a little couple of details, make some funnies. Ta-da! But the moment the thumbnail is finalized and the audio is done editing, the audio version goes up to patrons. It is the earliest you can get our shows, and it's only $1 a month. But of course, other levels can let you vote in polls, get access to episodes live, lots of other fun stuff, like a shout out at the start of the show. So keep it in mind. Also keep in mind our merch, Teespring link in the description as well. And we will see you guys next week for more showdowns.
Lucky out.